final speaker before the Q&A session, not today. Final speaker before the Q&A session is Fabio Vedovelli, and again, sorry about pronouncing if I pronounced the last name wrong. Fabio is a full-stack engineer at Keylite, and he's going to be talking to us from Germany, I believe, on why you should consider testing library as your go-to tool for testing Vue.js components. So obviously, we've already heard how important testing is from errors, and just to hear more about how to properly test these applications. I know from personal experience it can get very complicated. So yeah, really looking forward to this. Fabio, are you with us?
Yes, I am here, and I must tell you, you did pronounce it brilliantly. Fabio Vedovelli. Thank you for having me here.
No problem at all. Yeah, genuinely really looking forward to this. Personally, testing was something that once I got my head around it, completely changed how I approach front-end development. So really looking forward to this. Over to you. I'll give you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Give me just a moment to share my screen. Share screen. Here we go. And then I will start my presentation. And let me know if you are not able to see my screen, my presentation. So I will briefly talk about myself and about the presentation I am about to give. So my name is Fabio Vedovelli. I am from Brazil, but I currently live in Berlin since mid-2018. I live here with my wife, Daniela, and my daughter, Amanda. And I would like to dedicate this presentation to my wife because we are celebrating our wedding anniversary today, 3 years together as husband and wife. So yeah, here's to you. So what it is about? Well, if you are used to test your Vue components, you are probably doing with Vue test utils, which has been around for quite a while and it's very popular. But we have an alternative, and they can even be used together. Well, to be completely honest, testing library is a layer on top of Vue test utils. Okay, and in a moment you will know why I like it so much. So I will give you a moment to read the statement that you see in the screen. It was taken from the library's website. Okay, so with that out of the way, that means that you test what your users see and interact with. No surprise, I'm talking about the document object model, or a form fields, buttons, links, and so on. So why does it matter? Let's think about the following situation. You have a local state in your component, and if some property of this state changes, something is displayed in the screen. So this is an implementation detail. So if you are used to manually change the state inside your tests to check if something was displayed, you are testing implementation details. But this should happen after some action taken by the user. And this is what testing library is proposing, okay? Because in the future, if you change how that message is displayed, okay? Not the message itself. There is no change in behavior, but you change the name of the property in the state of your component. Then you have to go back to your test and also change the name of the property there. And if you are just testing what the user is doing, the user doesn't care about the name of a property. What the user cares is if the application is working or not, okay? So there's more. Testing library also provide powerful selectors. And those selectors, they encourage best practice and clean codes. For instance, ever since I started using testing libraries, it's very rare that I have to include data test ID something in order to get a reference to that particular element, okay? Or worse, include CSS classes that are there only for the purpose of selecting something. They have no role in changing the application look and feel. Yeah, so we are not doing that anymore. In the end, your test will be telling a story, and a story that can and will be useful for new joiners or even your future self. I experiment that myself, like getting back to a project that I didn't touch for 6 months, and then before starting refactoring something, I went over tests and the story was there. It was clear. I could immediately remember what that component was doing. So before I start the live coding session, let me get some things out of the way so I don't have to repeat afterwards. So it is a Nuxt project, and I chose Nuxt because it's batteries included. It contains everything I need. For instance, it comes with a Tailwind CSS for styling, and also Jest completely configured so I could just start testing. And I also went ahead and installed testing library, okay? And this link will be shared with you, is the source code for the presentation. If you go there right now, you will just see a bunch of to-dos tests. But right after I finish this presentation, of course, I'm going to commit and push the fresh code so you will have everything so you can use it. Okay? Great. So let me just check if there is any message here. No, everything seems to be fine. So first, one thing I don't like about testing library is the name. It's too generic. It makes it very hard to Google in order to find help. But it is what it is. And I believe they picked this name because this generic name because it's a library that is supposed to work with several frameworks. For instance, it works with no framework at all, but you can use it with React, Reason, Native, Vue, Marco, Angular, Preact, Svelte, you name it, okay? So this is what we have. And this is the application I prepared for this presentation. So it's just a login screen, but it does quite a bit. Let's go over what it does and what needs to be tested. So if I click login without filling anything, I see 2 error messages. If I fill the field, error message will go away. If I type a wrong password, and after some time, an error message will be displayed. And if I type the correct password, then the screen will return to its original state. So this is as far as I could go. And I consider this a fully implemented component. There are other things, of course. When you fill the credentials and you click the login button, it will change, the label will change, and it will be disabled. So back here in the VS Code, I have the application running, and now I'm going to run my test suite. It's just for the login component. And as you can see, I have a bunch of to-dos here. Let me get the code. So this is the code for the component itself. There is the template part, and then there is the behavior. Here you see the local state. It contains some properties to control what needs to be disabled and what needs to be displayed or hidden, and the form data itself. And just a single method here that is calling an API. It is a fake API. I am using a very nice tool named Mirage, which enables you to have a mock API running inside your front-end project. You should check it out. It's very handy. So here I am making a real Axios post call to this endpoint and sending the form data. And then Mirage will get the data and check if the user exists or not. If it returns an error, then I will change the local state, and ultimately this, where is it? Here, this login unsuccessful will be displayed, Okay, so on to the test part. Okay, so I went ahead for the sake of saving time, and then I included some to-dos here. And this is what I believe will bring a good coverage for this component. So we have roughly, let me check, 13 tests here. And my goal is to implement as many as I can during this presentation. So I'm going to just comment the rest of them. And of course, to save time, I am also going to remove the to-dos. And I will start by implementing the first one. So the first thing I need is to import the component itself. Okay, now I'm going to import two objects from testing library Vue, which again, it was installed beforehand, but it's just a matter of yarn or npm install -- save dev, and then you include at testing library -vue. And from this import, I am getting screen and also render. Also, let me see if I have any error. No, I don't. So start the implementation. I'm going to render the component, and it should just work. Okay, so here is the first thing I like about testing library very much. If you use screen.debug and run your tests, testing library will output a nicely formatted HTML with colors, indentation, and everything that was rendered on line 6. Then you can inspect your component and check what you would like to assert. For instance, this first one, it should render the box with a welcome message. Okay, I can see the welcome message is there. It's part of heading 3. So I will just copy this text here, and then I will work on the assertion. So expect to be in the document. So if you are used to jest, maybe you never seen this method before, to be in the document, because this is also something that testing library brings to you. It extends the jest expect and brings new things to the table. Let me just give you an example. Let me just grab from here, jest DOM. Okay, it's there. And it's not there, it's here. Okay, from the GitHub, it will expand the jest extend with all of those nice methods, like to be disabled, to be enabled, empty, in the document, invalid, required, you name it. There's a lot of them, and they are pretty useful in order to make assertions on your component. Okay, so back to the code. So what I would like to check if it is in the document. So I'm going to use screen get by role, and this is very important. I am getting a heading, and I am passing an object with, here I'm using a regular expression. Yeah, by using a regular expression, I don't care about the case. I can use lowercase, uppercase, because I am passing this I here for insensitive. And if I did everything right, now I have my first test passing. Let me negate this assertion, including the not, to see what testing library will do. Oh, something nice, like there is a very meaningful message here. Expect document not to contain element, but found H3. Yeah, and it will tell you exactly in which line the issue happened. So yeah, let me just remove this, and I can also, in order to declutter, I'm going to include this. Let me call it element, and then I'm going to assert that element is in the document. Okay, just to finish, one more nice thing. You saw this before. So testing library will output everything that was rendered. But if I pass something that was accessed before here, then testing library will just output that particular element. And this is also super useful. I've never seen this with any other library that is intended to render components. Okay, so with that out of the way, let me move forward. So the second one, it should display an input type email. I can just go ahead and copy this. So instead of a heading, I'm getting a text box, and the name will be email. And I just expect element to be in the document. Oh, it's working, yeah? So when I said during my slide presentation that testing library encourages you to write a more accessible code, this is what I'm talking about. The most popular selector within the testing library environment is the get by role. So by using get by role, you are ensuring that you are using accessible elements. So you can get by their roles instead of their ID or some random class, okay? So moving forward, let's work now with the password. So I will copy here, paste, just change it here, leave it text box. I'm going to replace this with password, and I expect this to fail. Why? Because until now, the input type password, it doesn't have an accessible type, an accessible name, okay? And they have a good reason for that, which I don't remember right now. And another nicety about testing library, I am using get by role, and the library couldn't find, but the library is listing everything that has an accessible role inside my component. So I can check it out if I misspelled something or if the role I am trying to access doesn't exist. And this is the case at hand. So here I am going to use something different. So if I start typing get, I have access to all the ways that testing library provides us to access elements inside our component. So in this case, get by label text here. And then the label text will be just password. And now I expect it to pass. Let me just take a step back and debug this element. So you will see that even though I am getting by label text, it is returning the input. And if I output the full source code of my component, you will see that testing library is using this element that is tied to this input by its ID in order to have access to it. So it's pretty clever. Okay. One more passing. Okay, so now I would like to display a button. It's very important. So I can just go ahead and grab this one. I will change here, log in, and I expect this element to be in the document. Fine, but also important, let me check the code again. If I scroll down, we will see the button right here, and the button is type submit. And this is important because it is contained within a form, and if I am using type submit, if the user just hit enter in the keyboard instead of clicking the button, the form will also work. So I believe it's important that I check if my element contains that particular property. So expect element to contain, let me check, to contain, no, element to have property, yes. Submit. Let me check if it is the way we should check it. No. To have element proper to have property. Okay, I will leave that comment out for the moment. So just keep in mind this is important. Okay, we are going pretty well as far as I can tell. So we should ensure that both fields have placeholder text. This is very important as well. So something important I forgot. I am repeating myself over and over and over with rendering the component. So what I usually do is I create a function, render component. Here I render it. And then from this point down, I will just replace it with render component. It's easier to type, I believe, because I don't have. Let me check if I didn't break anything. Oh, I broke everything. Function, render. Of course. Render. Login. I replaced too much. Okay, now everything is working again. So from this point on, I will just type render component. It's easier. Then const field 1 is screen get by role. I can just copy. Yeah, let me be lazy. So I can just copy those two, paste it here. This one I'm going to call field 1, and then field 2. And I'm going to change this. Instead of get by role, get by placeholder text. Look how cool it is. And I'm going to leave it empty. Or no, it's you@email.com, I believe, for this one. And get by placeholder text. Your password. Okay, expect field 1 to be in the document. Same goes for field 2. And let's check it out. Oh. Okay. Unable to find element with placeholder text. Okay, so let me check it here. Is you@example.com. So I can fix this right away. And it's passing. There is no problem with password. So yeah, one more happy test implemented. Okay, now it's starting to get interesting. So it should not make a post call on form submit when form data is not fully filled. So for this one, I would like to go back to the component implementation, and we have to check what happens when the login is executed. And it is attached to the submit event on the form. Okay, so if form data email is not empty string, the same goes for password, then we enter here and we make an Axios call. So I will mock Axios.post, and then I will check that it was not called. Okay, so in order to mock something, we have to import it. So Axios. Then just spy on Axios method post, and I'm going to mock resolved value just sending through. Okay. So now, every time a component is rendered, it's not the real Axios that is included there, but the mocked version by Jest. Okay, back to the test. Now, I know this is going to be a sync because I'm going to use await. I'm going to render the component. Okay, time is flying. I just received the 5-minute warning and I am halfway through, but okay. Let me try just to keep this, to get this one straight. Maybe the next one, or I don't know. Okay, so I need to grab a reference to the button. Where are you? Button. Here. Okay. So, and then I have to click this button. So, testing library has you covered. User event from testing library user event, and it's just another tiny library that is target to simulate real user interactions. So here I am just clicking the button. So user event click, I pass the element I want to click, and then expect Axios post not to have been called. Not times, but at all. Whoops. Okay. Okay, it's passing. Let me just check times, I don't know, 2 times. It was supposed to be called 2 times, but it was not called at all. So I know it's working. Okay, cool. So I will just bring it back. Okay, let me check the chat here. Just a moment, please. Okay, thank you very much. The organization is super cool. They are proposing to give me 2 or 3 more minutes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me pick the one more, a little bit more interesting here. Oh, here. It should make a post call on submit. So I also know that this one is going to be a sync. I have to render the component, the button. I have to grab those 2 fields. Cool. Then, what I would like to do. First, I would like to fill the field 1 with a proper email. So, await user event type. Now I am simulating a user typing something in the field 1, and it's going to be my own email. Okay. And for the field 2, I'm going to include a password that I know my server is prepared to return as true. Okay? Then finally, I am clicking the button and I am expecting my mock to have been called times 1. 1 time. Let's leave it like that for now. It was not called. Why? Okay, it should. Oh, but it is this one that is being messed up. Let me just run this one in isolation. So when you include an F before the it means focused. So it will just run that test in isolation, and all the others are going to be skipped. So I know this one is working. I'm going to work on this test until it is fully passing with all the information I want, and then I will take the rest of the time to check why the other one it suddenly stopped working. So what else can I make it here? So expect to have been called with. And with what? I'm going to pass an empty object and see what the output is. So it was supposed to be called with an empty object, but it was called with that information, which makes me very happy because it is the information I am providing right here. Yeah, so it's working, it's passing, we are all happy. And in this test, we can clearly see the triple A's of unit testing, like arrange, yeah, arrange here, and then we act, and then we assert, triple A, and it's clear that is there. Okay, let me just remove the focus here and see what is the problem with this one. Should not make a post call if date is not fully. Maybe this is interfering with this one in some way. I don't know. Well, let me do something very important that I forgot. After each, yeah, it's a hook provided by Jest, and then Jest clear all mocks. Okay. Okay, run it again, please. No, it's still not working. Should not make, expect never call. Okay, maybe I messed up with the test. If somebody saw some, not to have been called, I did it. I brought it on myself. Yeah, now it's working. Okay, organization, please give me a hint. Do I have time to one more? In the meantime, I'm drinking my water. Go for it. Thank you. Thank you. You were awesome. Okay, so, okay, this one is important. This is going to be the last one, but the final code I'm going to push to the repository will be complete. I will do later on today, and then you will have all the tests in place. Okay, so it should toggle disable submit button during submit. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to copy everything that we have here. Okay, fine. So expect, before anything else, I expect, of course, I need the button. So button, maybe text content, yeah, to equal log in. Okay, let me see. Oh, I forgot the async. Very common mistake. Okay, so the text content of the button is equal login. Okay, and after everything goes well, like both fields are filled and the button is clicked, then I expect the text content to change to, what is it that I'm using? It's loading, right? I believe it is. Let me check. Please wait. Huh. Okay. Thank you, testing library, for this nice output. Okay, so yeah, it's fine. Good. And okay, I've lied. This is going to be the last one. So here, quick. It should display a message when credentials are not valid. Okay, so this is going to be async render component. I'm going to include, no, not this one. I'm going to include a typo in my email. And I don't need this, but I need a different mock for this one, because for all the tests, sorry for keep rolling the screen. Here, right before rendering the component, I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to mock rejected value, and then I'm going to pass error, some error here. Okay, yeah? So when this component inside this tests is rendered, then it's this version of the mock that is going to be included. And then, only then, I expect Spring get by text. Yes. Let me refer back to the component to see what it's just this one for the sake of brevity. So get by text to be in the document. Okay, so it's going to fail. Yeah, it failed. Unable to find an element with the text. Okay, I'm going to do some magic here and hoping that it will work, and then I'm going to explain. There is another method here that is very useful for async testing. And then I am going to await, wait for, as I'm going to perform the assertion inside the callback here. And now it is passing. And I explain you why. Because Vue.js is too fast. And we are doing something that is dealing with something that lives outside the component. So when the test execution reaches this point here, the interface didn't have time to change, to adapt this error to be included in the local state and the message to be displayed. So this wait for will keep searching for the component until it appears or there is a timeout. And with that, I finished my presentation. It was a super cool. I had lots of fun. I am stopping my screen sharing, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you feel motivated to give Testing Library a try.
Thank you very much, Fabio. That was great, actually. I think for a lot of people, when you see tests, you read about tests and you can get stuck quite easily, especially with front-end development. I can only speak personally, but there's a few things to watch out for when you're using frameworks, when you're working with async, all of these things. So to have, especially with a recorded session as well, and just to see someone work through these different examples, mocking, spies, all this thing, I think that's super, super useful. So thank you very much for that.
Well, my pleasure.
Perfect. So we're going to move on to the Q&A now. You noticed that we gave Fabio a little bit extra time, but that's no problem. We'll just shorten the breakdown from 15 minutes to 5. I mean, if you guys want to take a break, you're fully able to do so. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to the Q&A session. That will last 15 minutes.